Boxing Truth here. I wanted to talk a little bit about Mikey Garcia, as he's still mulling his options on who's going to represent him in his career going forward, following his litigation with Top Rank and breaking free from his contract after 2 years of inactivity that has stalled his career, as the fans and people following his career were on the verge of finding out whether he was a top operator or perhaps a pound-for-pound level fighter or an elite fighter. But the inactivity has stalled those questions. And Mikey Garcia is still mulling his options when it comes to promotional entities. He's been getting a lot of interest from various promoters. They're bigging him up. They feel he's a potential star. He is well-spoken, bilingual, does good on the commentating gigs he's been offered. And right now, they're trying to figure out the next date for Mikey Garcia. He was given a time slot earlier this year for his first fight back after 2 years of inactivity. Was given a co-feature slot on the undercard of the Frampton Santa Cruz fight back in July, I believe at the Barclays Center, yes. And he was given that time slot by Heyman and the Showtime executives with no long-term commitment, no further commitment, just a one-time deal, a one-time slot for a fight against a blown-up, inactive featherweight in Elio Rojas, a former world champion at featherweight, but coming off 2 years of inactivity. Likewise as Mikey Garcia. And it was pretty much a tryout to see how the fans would be receptive to him, what type of reception he would get, and also where he's at in his career after 2 years in inactivity. It wasn't a great performance, even though he knocked down Rojas a few times in the fight, but Rojas pretty much had no punch resistance. Every time he got hit hard, he went down. So you really couldn't get much to gauge off where Mikey Garcia is at in his career. He didn't look that great to me. He didn't look that good. He was having trouble with Elio Rojas' movement, but was able to get the stoppage, showed that he still has punching power, something that he showed throughout his career under the guidance of Top Rank. And right now, Mikey Garcia is being presented with an offer for a date for sometime in October. It was supposed to be October 15th, but that date has since been scrapped. Looks like it's going to be pushed back to October 29th. We're still waiting to see if that fight's going to go ahead in the month of October. After initially it was supposed to be on the 15th, but we're 6 weeks out. There's still no announcement on that card. That's supposed to have Mikey Garcia as the co-feature, with Danny Garcia as the main event headliner. But Mikey Garcia is being presented for a fight against Dejan Slaktishanin, the WC lightweight champion. And what is a very good fight, but a very dangerous, risky fight. The most riskiest fight in Mikey Garcia's career. Because he's going to be fighting an undefeated lightweight little beast guy in Slaktishanin, coming off knockout wins, has been looking explosive his last few fights, fighting at a higher weight, and then to go from Elio Rojas to Dejan Slaktishanin is only his second fight back since his inactivity. Could be much of a big jump, but it's an interesting fight, and I'd actually be a little surprised if this fight happens. Maybe Mikey Garcia is very confident and is very confident in his abilities to beat Dejan, or maybe he's being bigged up by the people at Showtime or Heyman, as they see him as something of a potential star in the future. But for this fight being presented to him, he's going to be offered a longer term commitment. Because that's just the way it works. No promoter is going to offer you a fight like this, an opportunity like this, if they're not going to sign with them for a longer-term commitment, whether that's 3 fights, whether that's a year contract, whether that's a 5-fight deal. So Mikey is expecting to be offered a contract once he's an extension, once he's offered the fight with Dejan Slaktishanin. And it's going to be interesting to see if this fight really goes down, because Mikey Garcia is on his own right now. He's not getting the benefits of from Top Rank's matchmaking, which is arguably the best in the business. Top Rank is known for really doing well in developing their prospects, putting them in the right learning fights to get them to develop better, and then when they're ready to step up, they step them up. But Mikey's no longer going to have the benefits of Top Rank's matchmaking, because if you look at his resume, I mean, 35 fights, and there's nothing that really jumps out to you. His most dangerous fight to date in his career was the Orlando Salido fight. Salido's the most accomplished fighter Mikey Garcia has ever fought, the most dangerous guy, and he did well in the fight, scored 4 knockdowns, but ended in an anticlimactic fashion. Got headbutted accidentally, it ended up breaking his nose, and he decided to take the easy way out. Instead of sucking it up and continue to fight, he decided to not continue, take the technical decision, and then pick up Orlando Salido's strap in that fashion. But it's not a resume that really stands out. I mean, he's fought some solid guys, but he hasn't fought any. He hasn't fought any elite guys, pound for pound level type guys. He fought Huama when he was pretty much on the downside of his career, coming off 2 stoppage losses to Salido. His punch resistance in that fight was pretty much very depleted going into the fight. Roman Martinez is a solid guy. Got knocked down in the fight though, but was able to come back and get a knockout. We're still waiting to see how good Mikey Garcia is, and we was on the verge of finding out what the type of plan Top Rank had for him. They had some big plans for him. They were going to develop him into a bigger attraction, build him up, put him in fights against Gamboa, then eventually build him up to a B-side to Manny Pacquiao someday. But Mikey Garcia sued out of his contract, didn't like the terms of his deal, wasn't willing to re-sign an extension with the same type of terms he signed for it, according to him, when he first signed with Top Rank. But now he's going to be dealing with different promotional entities. He's going to be dealing with different matchmakers who are probably not as well suited as Top Rank's matchmakers on who he could fight, who he does well against, and what type of styles he excels at against the opponents that he will fight. And Dejan Slaktishanin is something he's never fought before in his career. Never. He's never been matched with this type of fighter. And coming off this type of inactivity, to go from Elio Rojas to Dejan, it could be a major, too much of a step, too much of a jump for Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia is a good fighter. I mean, he's shown a lot of potential in his fights. He's shown good conditioning. He's shown good power in a lot of his fights. He's able to record knockouts within the first 4 rounds or within the last 3 rounds of fights. He's shown power throughout his career, and also throughout the longevity of fights, whether it's early knockouts or in late round stoppages. He's been able to show that type of power in the later rounds as well as the early rounds. But Dejan is something else, and I'd be very surprised if this fight happens. It's not the type of opponent he's really used to facing. He preferred to face Terry Flanagan for the WBO belt, but Flanagan looks like he's got other options. Doesn't look like that fight's going to happen. That was Mikey Garcia's preference. But now he might have to fight arguably the most dangerous lightweight in the division. Guy who's stocky, strong, a little beast, who's been knocking guys out. And it's a fight that could derail the Mikey Garcia Express and foil all the plans that Mikey Garcia still has. and trying to prove to the boxing world that he's an elite fighter. We just don't know how good Mikey Garcia is. But if he takes that fight against Dejan Slaktishanin, we're finally going to see how Mikey Garcia is. It will either be a great victory or a devastating defeat. And if it results into a devastating loss, it will make Mikey Garcia end up regretting ever leaving Top Rank. As the plan that they have for him, maybe that would have been a better course for Mikey Garcia, a better road to fighting Gamboa, then perhaps fighting Crawford, and then fighting Manny Pacquiao. And then instead of just suing out of his contract. Now, according to Mikey, it's understandable, according to his story, on why he did what he did. But considering the option that's being presented to him, if fighting Slaktishanin, a very dangerous lightweight, in only his second fight back after inactivity, and you compare it to what was the plan Top Rank had for him, the end game would have been fighting Manny Pacquiao on that side of the spectrum, the Top Rank side. And on this side, on his current side of his current situation right now, to go through 2 years of inactivity, not fighting, not making any money, then finally coming back for a one-time deal, a one-time slot on Showtime this past July for a mere $375,000 purse, much less than what he got for his last fight prior to that against Juan Carlos Burgos in New York. Now, he had no representation for his last fight this past July against Elio Rojas. Was able to keep all the money that was offered to him, just a mere $375,000 purse. But to go and fight Slaktishanin, and me having a strong feeling that he could possibly get chinned and flattened. Very interesting to see if this fight if it does happen, because it really could be Mikey Garcia ended up regretting leaving Top Rank and not going through with the plan that they have for him and fighting Terrence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao. Fights that really could have made him much more money and given him more star potential compared to a very, very dangerous fight against Slaktishanin for nowhere near the type of money he would have made and what Top Rank would have offered him. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.